it's really important that we do our best to study a little bit every day. So study is what helps you to understand the progress of your human revolution. Study is what helps you to understand what is going on in your own life and in the environment around you. If you read the Gosho over and over again, determined to understand Nichiren Daishonin spirit, and if you chant Daimoku, that you should be able to do so, definitely, as the months pass, you'll begin to feel like Mr. Todefeld. So this Gosho delves into the very depths of our faith, to the prime point of it, and to the prime purpose of it, because what it does is to explain the attainment of Buddhahood. When Dr. Kawada was here, he answered a question about how the Buddha state manifests itself, or what was the attribute which the Buddha state gives people. And he answered in one word: courage. Thank you, Dennis. Courage. Because firstly, you have no fear, because you understand the reason for everything that is happening around you. Fear arises from ignorance. When there is no ignorance, there is no fear. Secondly, his courage arises from the fact that he knows to the depths of his life that he will always be protected by the Shoten Zenjin, or to put it in modern terms, the forces of the universe which affect our lives. And thirdly, he knows that through the power of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, he can always make the impossible possible. With this understanding, the Buddha is an expression of incredible courage. And it is courage that rises up more and more in our lives as we go on practicing and chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. So in English, the heritage of the ultimate law of life. So the Japanese title is Shoji Ichi Daiji Kechi Myakusho. So first of all, Shoji, or in the English title, that means life. This essentially means life in the eternal sense. Life which repeats a continuous cycle of birth and death. Ichi means not just one, but the only one. Daiji means fundamental essence. So Shoji Ichi Daiji means the one and only fundamental law of life. Myoho Renge Kyo expresses the entity which exists at the core of every manifestation of life in the whole universe. And he explained that Myo represents death, something unseen, and Ho represents life. So Myoho of Myoho Renge Kyo is the reality of the process of living and dying. Everything that we see physically is living and dying. But then Nichiren Daishonin said also, living and dying is in existence and non-existence. Living and dying is also continuing in what some people call the spiritual world, or the unseen world. Anger, sorrow, joy, pleasure live and die. Anger arises in one's life and anger disappears. Sorrow does the same. Pleasure does the same. Joy does the same. Every aspect of our unseen life is also going through the process of living and dying. So the cells and the planets and us, you remember, are represented by the word K, K-E, the physical manifestation of life. And anger and sorrow, joy and pleasure, hell and tranquility. All such unseen things which nevertheless live in our lives, coming and going, living and dying, Buddhism expresses in the term Ku, K-U. So the whole universe is pulsating or vibrating with this rhythm of life and death, both in Ke and Ku, in the spiritual and in the physical, in the seen and the unseen. And running through it all, at the base of it, is the law of cause and effect. So life is expressing itself in these states of life and death, both in the unseen and seen, by means of the law of cause and effect. Renge. Myoho Renge. So really Buddhism expresses life in its absolute totality. And secondly, Nichiren Daishonin went on to explain what this force called Myo, of Myoho, is. It's a force, isn't it, which is hidden, you can't see it, yet it is incredibly dynamic and has limitless creative power. This incredible energy or force which is expressed by the word Myo. Now, in a gosho called On the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra, Nichiren Daishonin explains this force by expressing it in three qualities. He said that it has the quality to open and the quality to be endowed and perfect, and the quality to revive. The quality to open, the quality to be endowed and perfect, and the quality to revive. And we explained that a bit further, just as Sensei did in his lecture. To open means that this force has the power to activate life or open up life in various forms. So in a fruit tree in the winter, you just see bare twigs and a trunk and a few little grubs around. But as the spring comes, blossom appears, and then fruit, and then seed. This is the energy of Myo. If you cut up that tree in 1,000 little pieces in the winter, you'll never find a flower or a seed or a fruit. But the fact is, in the rhythm of life, during each season, it develops flowers, fruit, and seeds. This is the unseen force of Myo at work. Secondly, to be endowed and perfect. If you look at the sea, the foam and the breakers and the great waves, or the little ripples on a calm day, are all part of the one great thing called the ocean, aren't they? Every particle and drop of spray or wave or white horses is a part of the whole ocean. And it's the same with life. Every moment of life, in every manifestation of it, in the whole universe, is part of the one great sea of life. If you like a myriad different sorts of fishes, all of different colors and shapes and sizes, yet living part of the one sea. And the third quality was to revive. This law of Myo Ho has the power to revive. The power to revive means that it is eternal and continuous and ever-flowing. Our life disappears when we physically die, but our life itself continues unseen and then is revived and reappears like the fruit and the flowers on a fruit tree appear every year. And this same process of revival is going on constantly. It's the very rhythm of the universe itself. This process of revival is going on the whole time in the natural course of events. Of course, there are unnatural things that can interfere with this, but this is the natural process of life. And within all this, the 10 worlds are revolving, appearing and disappearing. Hell is coming and going in all of life. Rapture is doing the same. Buddha is doing the same. Anger is doing the same. Coming and going, appearing and disappearing, seen and unseen. This Buddhism is the Buddhism of Honin-myo, the Buddhism of the true cause. The cause you make now determines your future. Not what happened to you in the past. Because although what happened to you in the past has formed your unhappy karma, by making great causes from now, this minute, you can change that karma. This is the spirit of Honin-myo. He repeated that there is no deadlock in Buddhism and asked us again to be diligent in our 3 practices, to throw ourselves into successful discussion meetings, and then he talked about Shakabuku, teaching others about Buddhism. And he said this: "It is my greatest wish that through this struggle in the depths of your lives, the struggle of the human revolution, especially in these few months, to rid ourselves of unhappy karma, you will bring yourself to talk to your friends who are suffering in one way or another, turning the courage arising from your practice into jihi, or Buddhist mercy. The basic principle of our movement is that each of us should devote ourselves wholeheartedly to each and every friend as if nothing else matters except his or her happiness. Please engrave this principle in your lives and advance together with joy and friendship." So in this case, Sensei prepared the way. Sensei made the revelation or the interpretation of this particular moment of time, and then he left it to Mr. Izumi to talk about the transmission, teaching others. So I've emphasized this and taken a bit of time over it because I wish to try to make clear the relationship of master and disciple in Buddhism. Through his experience, the master interprets. The disciple digests it, challenges it, proves it in his actual life, and therefore advances further towards enlightenment himself. Without the master-disciple relationship, as the high priest said some time ago, there can be no Buddhism. Buddhism can never flow without it. So please open your eyes and ears to this fact, because I know that it is a struggle for us in the West to understand the master-disciple relationship. But it's the very fundamental or base of the flow of Buddhism, and has been over thousands of years. So the more we understand and prove in our lives the wisdom and mercy and incredible caring of Sensei, the more we will desire, through our Daimoku and through putting to the test all of his guidance, to get closer and closer to him. Because this is the whole purpose, that through this we should inherit the ultimate law of life, and in due course pass that heritage on to those who follow us. This is the current or the flow of Buddhism. What is the purpose of the Shakabuku campaign? Nothing else in the end, but so that we can do, each of us, our human revolution. So thinking about Shakabuku, I feel there are really 3 phases of it, and each is of vital importance. The first phase is what I would call sowing seeds. The phase where you make friends and you tell this friend or those friends about Buddhism. The introduction, in other words. Now, some of those seeds sprout immediately, so fast it takes your breath away. But others of them may take a long, long time. Some people may take a year before they commit themselves, like I did. Other people may take 10 years. But the sowing of the seed is very important. Because they have the Buddha state, each person, that part of their lives is alerted or activated when they hear about Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. And therefore, for some strange reason, which we know really isn't strange, they never forget Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Perhaps in 6 or 8 years' time, something goes a bit wrong in their lives. And something makes them think of Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Though they haven't thought of it for 6 years. We know so many cases, don't we, like that. So that is the first phase, the sowing of the seed. And you can only sow the seed through friendship. Through sincere, warm friendship. And the second phase, I would term the gaining of trust. Now, Kechimyako also means the master-disciple relationship. In other words, the current or the flow of Buddhism is carried through the vibrating, dynamic relationship of master and disciple. Without the master, the disciple cannot learn. So it is the master-disciple relationship that carries on the understanding of Shoji Ichidaiji, the fundamental essence or law of life. It also means the master and disciple relationship. The relationship between teacher and pupil, master and disciple. This is also like a current that in Buddhism runs through eternal life. The teacher is always appearing and transmitting at the right moment the law of life or the explanation of life to his disciples, who then pass it on from generation to generation. This is also Kechimyaku. So Kechimyaku means in that sense transmission, or the other way round, heritage. You transmit and you inherit. The master transmit, the disciples inherit. The disciples transmit, and their followers inherit.